In dirt track racing, us the drivers drive really fast and breathtaking machines. Also in dirt track racing, we have this exciting move called the slide job. Another thing that we see in dirt track racing is one of the most dedicated fan bases in all of sports, and that right there is going to be the topic for today's video. But anyway, welcome back to today's video. We are happy to have you guys here today. If this is our first time meeting, my name is Tanner Holmes, and I'm a 17-year-old sprint car driver from Southern Oregon, and I've been around dirt track racing for most of my life. And I got my start in racing at 5 years old in the outlaw kart ranks and slowly worked my way up through the different divisions, and then eventually got into sprint cars and have now traveled to many different racetracks across this great country. And with all the traveling I've done to these different racetracks, the one thing that I've noticed they all have in common, when us drivers, no matter what division we're in, when we show up to compete, participate, and go for the win, there's also a huge turnout right on the other side of the fence where the fans tend to pack the grandstands and support us, the drivers. And real quickly, I do just have to say for everybody watching this, with all the social media content we put out and the videos and whatnot, my favorite part about going to these different racetracks, whether it's locally right here in Oregon, or if we travel to Missouri, Oklahoma, Arkansas, wherever, getting the chance to meet you guys in person, take a picture, give you a hero card, you decide to purchase merchandise, it is my favorite part about what we do. So this video is going to be kind of like a kudos to you guys, an applause. Thank you so much for supporting dirt track racing and all you do. We're going to talk about the importance of having fans at events and also how we can improve your fan experience to want you to come back. So now it is time to jump right into today's video, starting off with the importance of fans at the racetrack. Now, I think it's obvious if we don't have fans, no fans equals no racing. And a perfect example of this is what happened in 2020 with the effects of the pandemic. And even in certain areas of the country, like mine in the Pacific Northwest, we're still seeing the effects because we're now back to being restricted and we can't have as many fans, or only 15% or 30% capacity. But these racetracks just kind of have their hands tied and did all last year because they couldn't gather and they couldn't have fans. And they tried to do some alternatives, having pay-per-view and do other options to make the races happen. But ultimately, it just comes down to it's nearly impossible to run the business of a racetrack without having fans in the grandstands. And that's going to lead us into this next segment, which is 4 reasons why dirt track fans are important to us drivers and tracks and how they support us. So the number one way that fans support us is they buy tickets to the races. That could be general admission or the people that come through the pits and want a little more up-close look. And all that revenue from the front and back gate and concessions or t-shirt sales, however a racetrack is making money, that goes towards, the purses being paid for each division and then also helping the business of a racetrack run. And the second way that a fan can support dirt track racing is by purchasing the pay-per-view that night of the races, or like a yearly pass or a monthly pass. There's so many live streaming services that are covering different forms of dirt track racing now. There's a huge selection to choose from. But by purchasing these different services, sometimes the tracks get a cut, or I know last year, they were relying heavily on that when there was limited or no fans. And tracks had to do that to survive. But I think a lot of them are trying to get back to the point where if someone is covering the races that night and they are getting a percentage, that's maybe just extra income for the track or something they can put towards the purse or whatever, because it's it's hard to rely on people just buying the live stream versus all the money that they could be getting through the back or front gate. Now, the third way that a fan can support dirt track racing is they can use their hard-earned money to purchase merchandise from us drivers that offer it. This could be a t-shirt, hoodie, hat, stickers, even down to die casts. A lot of drivers offer many different forms of merchandise nowadays, whether that's online or also, right there at the track. And by fans spending money with the race teams, that just helps our operation go in circles. And the fourth and final way that a fan can support dirt track racing is actually by being a sponsor or marketing partner on one of our cars. Now, this is a little bit tougher to come by because sponsors, you have to go out and find them. That's just not really your average dirt track racing fan, but you never know who you're going to meet in the pit area or over social media. I wouldn't say everybody that's a marketing partner or a sponsor on a race car is necessarily a fan of the sport, but I would say most of them are and have some sort of connection to racing where they love to watch or follow along with the driver, so they therefore might give them a check to sponsor their team. So I brought up those 4 ways to show the importance of having fans and how they support the dirt tracks and how they support the drivers. And the reason I brought that up is because now I want to talk about some different ways how we can keep fans coming into our sport, keep them engaged, and overall just do a better job to bring them a better experience. Because in all reality, without fans, our sport isn't anything. So we need to keep them coming back. And the reason this whole video idea kind of popped up is because recently I had a conversation with Peter Murphy, the promoter and owner of the Colorado Speedway, and we actually had him on our podcast Off the Track. If you guys haven't listened to that episode, you absolutely should. I will link it right at the top of the description. But he just talked about how nowadays a lot of tracks and people that are just running the show are not necessarily doing it right, and really how there's just so much room for improvement in all these different areas. But the three words that he said that really caught my attention were, "We are entertainers." And he went on to elaborate more on that topic, and I thought it was so interesting. He talked about, like, yes, we go to races to win. If you're not showing up to win, you're doing something wrong. We put so much effort into our equipment, into our programs, to run up front and cross that finish line first. But in the end, there's also a second part of our job where we are entertainers, and we have a show to put on for these fans where they spent all this money at the front gate, spent money at the concessions, supporting us off the track, possibly purchasing merchandise. These people are here to support us, so we got to give them their money's worth. And real quickly, I do want to say, when I'm talking about all this, I'm not trying to put any racetracks down. I think there's plenty of tracks out there that do a phenomenal job. I just think overall as a whole in the community of dirt track racing, there's room for improvement in the fan experience area. So now that I mentioned we got to make that experience better for the race fans that show up to these tracks, it's time to talk about some of the solutions and things that racetracks really need to hit on every single night they have a show, whether it's locally or, maybe it's a national event with much bigger series coming in. So these 5 notes that we are going to be touching on are, in my opinion, what's going to make a show successful and are going to want the fans to come back for more. So note number 1, we got to talk about, the races getting done on time. There's so many tracks that we go to that run late and run so many classes, and it's not more about putting on the event. It's about, cramming as many people into the pits as possible, getting as many people through the back gate at their $35, $40, $45 pit pass rate. And then our shows go on till 11, 12, 1 a.m., and that is just not good for the fans because by then they're all left. They're all in their beds at home, already asleep by the time the A's are rolling out. So it's important to have a quick and efficient show, however a racetrack is able to do that. I know when we talked to Peter, he mentioned, only running 2 or 3 really good classes that kind of work well together. And that really leads us into note number 2, which is the event should not end when the checkered flag flies. So when the last lap's over, the final A main is done, the event should not be over. And what I mean by that, fans that are in the grandstands, if your show gets done early, they are going to have time to go down to the pit area or visit victory lane, wherever that is at your dirt track, and have a chance to engage with, maybe the top 3, the winner who won that night, or any of the other drivers in the pit area. And this is where that opportunity comes in, young and old, to make lifelong fans of the sport if it's just done right one time. Watching the races from the grandstands is awesome, and you get a great chance to see the action that close, right up in your face. But after the races, having the opportunity to go down and meet a driver, get a bunch of hero cards, go through the pits, get autographs, maybe take a picture, have the chance to sit in a driver's seat, or even purchase their merchandise. And if you're able to get up close, if a team's okay with it, maybe taking a peek in their rig to see what that's all about. You just have all these opportunities to make lifelong fans of the sport at a young age. And I know that's what happened to me. Even though I was a racer, I have this to my left. Back in 2011 and 2012, I went to the Southern Oregon Speedway, and I actually met Rico Abreu and Kyle Larson at an early stage in their career, and I still have these hero cards and a bunch other to this date because of that experience I had back then of going through the pits and meeting all these, big-time drivers just at my local racetrack. And even if I wasn't a racer, I'd probably be a fan of the sport to this date because of how cool it was just to get up close and meet those guys. So that is so incredibly important, making lifelong fans. Now on to note number 3. This one's kind of simple. For the younger kids, it probably doesn't matter as much, but some of the older folks that really just enjoy the racing part of it and viewing that, we got to have a good on-track product. And this one really speaks for itself. Everybody's version of a good race is different. Some people like hooked up in rough or just hooked up in fast tracks. Some people like dust bowls and really, really slick surfaces. But in my opinion, anything that keeps a fan up on the edge of their seat is a good thing. Now moving on to note number 4, any other opportunity to kind of get up close and personal with the drivers. This could be through fan fairs. This could be through driver appearances at their t-shirt trailer or any event, autograph signings before the race, over on the grandstand side of things. things, a chance for a fan to possibly purchase a VIP pass where they can get an even better look at what the races are like. So anything like that that's extra at the races, before or, at these bigger events especially, that is all, a big thumbs up. And now our fifth and final note for improving the experience for fans. I think fans always enjoy, and some drivers are not going to do this, and some are going to do this very well, but when drivers are consistent on social media. That could be as simple as just doing regular social media posts, but it's even better when, for example, a couple drivers have their own podcast, or if they do kind of create videos just like this, or if they use TikTok, or, maybe have a public Snapchat or anything where, they can kind of post a unique form of content that not a lot of drivers are doing to, make the fans feel closer to them or give them some insight on what it's like to be a race car driver. So anything social media related is good because that's just where the world's going. All these different apps and all these different, social medias you can have, it's easy for drivers to really produce stuff for fans to see. But now we are starting to near the end of the video. That is all I got though, as far as, improving the experience for the race fans. Like I said, there's some dirt tracks that do it very, very well. And as those tracks start to see more success, I think we're going to see others really start to try to follow in their footsteps because they're going to have to, or they're just not even going to be competitive in the game. But once again, thank you to all the race fans, you guys watching this video, huge applause. Without you guys, we would not be able to do what we do today. So that is going to lead us into the ending segment, question of the day. What racetrack have you been to that really does have a good fan experience? Let us know in the comment section down below. I'd be interested to see what places you guys enjoy going to. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching today's video here in the studio. The game plan, I think, is for Carly to run again this next weekend, and hopefully the Pacific Northwest rain/weather stays away. So we're hoping to get her out for her second and third start of 2021, but more videos will be coming your way this week in the shop and preparing for our big weekend of racing. See you guys all in the next one. Deuces.